To see so many people here today. We only put leaflets out yesterday evening and they had the wrong place on them. It wasn't wrong at the time, but it turned out to be wrong because then we found out on the internet this morning that the school was shut. So we tried to get hold of the school and they weren't answering the telephone because they'd all gone home. And we were just told that it was going to be locked up and security there, so thank you all for coming here instead, and I'm just bowled over by the turnout. I was walking home last Sunday evening, sorry, not a couple of days ago, a week ago, and I'd just been to the co-op on Seven Dials, and I was just walking down, well, I live just off Davidore Road, so I saw the tree, and I saw RIP written on it, and I thought, what's going on here? And I looked up, and I just saw this almighty, great, beautiful tree. And if truth be told, I probably hadn't completely realised what kind of amazing tree this was before. Just the fact that it had RIP on, and a few other posters, just made me stop, and I thought, what's going on here? So I'd like to say thank you very much for Kate for sticking the first thing in the tree, and although we shouldn't get in the habit of sticking tacks in trees, if you hadn't have stuck that tack in that tree, it might not be there now. One of the posters on the tree was something that said, come and help. I don't know exactly what it was asking anyone to help with, but it just said, if you can help save the tree, phone Stephen or Nick. So I phoned Stephen and Nick and said, what's going on? Is there anything I can do? And so we arranged to have a drink the following evening and plot plans. And during the course of that evening, it obviously became clear that the only way we were actually going to stop them if they actually turned up with chainsaws was if somebody was inside the tree. And I do have a lot of climbing gear and a lot of experience climbing rocks and trees, and I thought, well, I've got all the stuff, Stephen's up for it, I'm up for it, let's do it. And obviously there was a bit of we sent a lot of emails beforehand, and we put a lot of pressure on people to try and make it unnecessary to climb the tree. But ultimately we were told that Thursday was the day, and it was confirmed by the council officers that was set in stone. It was definitely going to be first thing Thursday morning was the chopping down of the tree. So Wednesday night, about midnight, 5 of us went with about 8 rucksacks full of supplies, a ladder, some climbing gear, and tried to get all this stuff up to the tree without anyone noticing. I have to say though, about 5 police cars drove past us before any of them stopped. I don't know what they thought we were doing. So, a few hours later, we'd managed to get up in the tree. We'd done the police diplomacy, and I seem to remember, I couldn't hear the whole conversation, but after a bit of a chat, they just said, well, okay, be safe, crack on. Great, okay. So we set up our camp, and by the time we'd finished, it was about 4:30 in the morning, and then we started getting our kind of sleeping gear organised and thought we'd go down for a couple of hours kit. But then at 5 o'clock, the contractors arrived and started fencing the whole site off. And we had 1 or 2 supporters turn up really early as well. And so we were chatting with them, and basically sleep pretty much went out the window. And then that next day was, I think, one of the most moving days of my whole life. The number of people that came to stop, came to cheer, to wave, to bring food. Motorists were pulling slowly past winding their windows down, honking their horns and waving at us. People on the top deck of the bus who we were still above them. I think, actually, if you're on the top deck of a bus, you kind of assume that you're on top of everyone else, and you end up looking down at people. So it's a bit of a surprise when you have to look up at somebody. And they were all waving at us, and children were coming and drawing pictures and posting them on the tree. One child brought a banana and placed it in the bucket which we were using for pulling up supplies. And on one side it said, "Thank you for saving the tree." I turned it over and it said, "Love from Coco, age 10. And these kind of things you don't experience normally. It was a very special time up there. We were brought hot dinners. We were brought, as Stephen said, we were brought more food than we could eat. And so we shared some of it with the supporters at the bottom who were doing all the hard work and getting much more soaked than we were, but none of the recognition. So I'd just like to say thanks very much to everybody who was at the bottom of the tree supporting, and everybody that came to the tree. And half of you in this room are probably those people, so thank you so much.